Hi, my tubies. Well, I've got so many things to do videos on, so many things to talk about. It's hard to narrow them down and make them fit into neat little subject matters. But this one I've been meaning to do for a while, and I kind of got a rule. It's like when I'm thinking about doing a video, and it comes up 3 times in my work, because you may have heard third time's the charm. When it comes up 3 times in my work, that's my sign that I need to do a video for it. You that have been watching me, you've probably got used to Birch saying old things that nobody else says anymore, that nobody else remembers anymore. And I'm not that old, but I have a very old mind, or maybe an old soul. I don't know. Maybe both, but I'm a bit old-fashioned sometimes, and I'm in this old-fashioned craft, and a lot of really important old expressions from our ancestors. They meant a lot, and back in the day, it used to be the job of a witch to spend your life figuring out what the hell those things meant. They were philosophies, if you will. Random little statements that meant huge things. Like I've told you, the craft is spoken on the wind and seen in the wild. Little things like that they used to like say. As above, so below. Little things like that they used to say. Huge meanings behind them. Take your whole life to figure it out. Nobody can tell you. A really important saying came from wort cunning, from herbal magic. And the saying was, that which can kill can cure. And we find that when we have these little statements like that, they translate into many more places than they were originally placed. We first hear that in herbal magic. And another one we hear in herbal magic is, for everything that is taken, something must be given. Now that's huge with regards to ecology and dealing with the earth, but it speaks volumes to other craft laws. We take something from somewhere, we have to put something there. I've talked about that, the void in the universe, nature abhorring a vacuum. If you take something from it, nature is going to fill it back up with what she's used to having there. You've heard me say these kind of things. So today's was that. What can kill can cure, or that which can kill can cure. A while back now, and apparently I'm still irked about it, and I shouldn't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. But sometimes when people say stuff about me that's just so inaccurate as this crap, it sticks with me. It just pisses me off. Ignorance with without an attempt to not be ignorant, pisses me off more than anything else. And so occasionally I used to read the Yelp reviews until I found out that that Yelp makes your good reviews float to the top if you pay them money, and they don't make your they make your bad reviews float to the top if you don't pay them money. So Yelp's an entire scam. It makes small people feel that they're big because they can sit and talk shit about somebody. But at any rate, somebody wrote this review about my shop, and it's often when I get a bad review, it'll be like somebody with a personal axe to grind, and they personally don't like me. And you can tell by reading the reviews that it's pretty much they don't like me. And that was pretty much it. It was like all these terrible things said about Birch in this Yelp review. But the thing that pissed me off was that this woman, this twit, this fucking idiot, dumber than dirt. Actually, dirt's pretty smart. I shouldn't use that expression anymore. Was bitching because the Grove had so many hexing utensils and tools for black magic, she said. Now, I know of no tools for black magic. I know of tools for magic, and I know you can use the same tool for good magic, bad magic. You can use your athame to cast your circle, but the athame is a weapon. And most people don't like to talk about it as such, but it is a spiritual. So on a spiritual plane, it can absolutely be used to stab your adversary's soul to death I don't recommend doing that. You can do it. It can be done. It's a tool. What's black or white, what's good or evil is right here. These things are just tools. What can kill can cure. This is one of the things that Twit was bitching about in the Yelp review. This is called graveyard dirt. Graveyard dirt can be used to hex, mixed together with some stuff. It can be used to make goofer dust. And goofer dust is a very powerful old voodoo hexing agent sprinkled in a place where your target will come in contact with it, and the contact delivers the curse. And curses can kill. Matter of fact, the people that curse, the ones that actually receive training, are trained. You don't cast a curse unless you would shoot that person in the head if you could get away with it. Unless you're comfortable with them dying. You can't just do a curse to cause somebody bad luck, to give them a hard time. Curses don't know limitations like that. They don't follow that kind of thing. So hopefully you don't want to curse people, but if you ever do, that's pretty much the rule there. Make sure you're okay with them dying, because that might happen. So could be used to make goofer dust. Could be used. You could hex somebody just with the graveyard dirt. Graveyard dirt is also used for ancestor worship and for protection. Protection from those very hexes. Calling forth the spirit's aids to protect you. That which can kill can cure. Black candle. People that aren't witches, they freak out about black candles. They see black candle drippings, they visualize Satanists dancing through their heads. Typically, when we use a black candle, it's for protection. It absorbs a negative energy. We learned it in kindergarten. Black absorbs. It absorbs, then we burn it away, we get rid of it. You can use this same thing to cast a hex. I could remove a hex with this candle. I could do protection with this candle. I could hex the shit out of somebody, and their life dwindles away as the flame burns down. Their actual body dissolves, falls apart. Their health fails as the candle burns. That's up to you. Not something I typically go around doing, but the ignorance of some little Wiccans to come around and cast your morals on everybody else in such an ignorant way. You don't even understand enough about witchcraft, and you're going to chastise somebody else's witchcraft. So, like I like to say to girls like that, honey, I was worshiping the goddess before you were a sperm. And that pisses them off. Especially pisses off the really hardcore feminist witches. But at any rate, red candles. Red candles used for lust, for passion, that kind of thing. Can also agitate and heat up somebody and drive them crazy. You can use this. You can use a protection, or you can use a red candle for protection to burn away the negative energy. Especially, are you protecting from something that's the opposite element, like protecting from emotional distress? Red candle would be good, because red candle is fire and emotion is water. Red combat. It pains me sometimes that I have to explain things that are so typical in my book. Hold on. I had to grab me a couple props. It's amazing, how close everything is. I just had to reach right over there a couple feet. And there we go. Cypress. The cypress is sacred to Hecate. It's also used for protection. It can also be used to cast a pretty hardcore death spell. Kill somebody magically. You decide. It's up to you. The stuff doesn't decide. That's my point with that. Here's one that'll probably rock your world. Tell me you hear anybody else tell you this one. Salt. Sea salt, we like to use sea salt. Salt's quite often used for protection. We know that. We'll sprinkle around the house, absorbs negativity, that kind of thing. We know that. Well, there is an old spell where you put rock salt in balloons. You fill up the little balloons, place them where they won't be found in your enemy's house, in a corner behind some furniture or something. A little bit of water, in there. Eventually, this salt breaks down the balloons, and the salt absorbs all this random negativity around the house. That it'd be a small amount of negativity, if you just dealt with it at the time. But the salt absorbs the negativity in your own house, enhances it, builds it up, and then when it eats through the balloon, releases it into your house. A hex using your own negativity, negativity that's floating around your house, to cause the hex on you. There are other variations where you add some other stuff to the balloons too. But hexing with salt can absolutely be done, because salt can kill plants. It can kill. It can cure. See what I'm saying? I could spend all day coming up with examples, but I guess the point, if I have a point to this particular rant, because I usually have a title first. This one I'm not sure. I guess that which can kill can cure. Okay, there's the title. I have the title. Point is, for you Wiccans out there, it's a great big craft world with a whole lot of witchcraft out there. And guess what? You are not in charge. You don't get to decide the morals of all of the witches everywhere, because it's a bigger craft world than it was back in, I don't know, the 80s, when there wasn't much else except for Wicca. But we got voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, ceremonial magic, strega, Asatru Odinism. There's another one in the Norse pantheon that I'm drawing a blank on, and I'm sorry, don't be pissed at me if I didn't shout out the name of your particular clique. But there are different trends that happen in the craft, and so the big ones nowadays is it voodoo, hoodoo, conjure, and particularly, I don't care what you call it, it's witchcraft. And I know a lot of conjure people and hoodoo people, they don't want to be witches anymore, but I'm sorry, it was witchcraft before you called it something else. And so we got voodoo. Voodoo's one thing. Hoodoo happens here more in America. Often a lot of people link it to the African diaspora. Yeah, it may have some roots in there, but what happens with hoodoo happens here in America. And I call hoodoo an American-born craft. The roots, root work. The roots of my parent organization, which has very strong Irish ties, the Druidic Craft of the Wise, is still living out in the Ozarks somewhere, doing what you people might call hoodoo, root work, maybe even conjure. And none of them are African, and none of them had anything to do with Africans. The problem is, here in America, we're this melting pot. We have a lot of slave traditions that kind of blend together. The Irish that were here in America were tended to be like indentured servants, that kind of thing, when they first got here. So something akin to slaves. So you get a lot of crossover between all these little crafts, and they blend together, and they become this thing that's an American thing. Hoodoo, conjure, those are American-born crafts that have their roots in other places, just like all of them. And again, I don't care what you want to call it, it's witchcraft. It is the craft of witches. It's what witches do. It's what witches have done. You can give it another name if you want, but the previous name predated it. But the point of that is, you Wiccans, you have your Wiccan Rede. You're not going to harm anybody, okay? Harm none, okay? They don't have that in voodoo. They don't have that in hoodoo. They don't have that in conjure. Matter of fact, Her Cat Ironwood say pretty clearly. I like to listen to her show. She said pretty clearly one time, if you have an enemy that's a hoodoo practitioner, you can guarantee they're working magic against you. That's so. Not only don't they have some moralistic patchwork band-aid that they throw on their craft like the Wiccan Reed, they go the whole other step. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, and they're going to do it, and there's no moral umbrella hanging over them that I know. I know the Asach do have a code of ethics. I don't know the code of ethics offhand. The Strega say never harm the innocent. I like that one. I can live with that one. Harm none? No. No, that's too malleable, and already gone through the harm by omission and causing greater harm by not causing a lesser harm. I've gone over and over and over and over that. I would much more live with the Strega thing, but conjure, voodoo, none of that. Having said that, that's a classic example of kind of what I'm talking about. Like, we have this vision of the voodoo doll here in America, where you make a doll of your enemy, get their hair, you get their fingernails, maybe their picture, you stick it on the doll, you weave these all into the doll, and then you stick the doll with pins, or nails, or whatever you got, to cause your enemy pain. That's more hoodoo, or the American re-envisioning of voodoo. I guess that would probably be pre what we call hoodoo, but that's the American version of voodoo, because voodoo takes on its own life in America. But prior to that, when it was Yoruba, those dolls tended to represent yourself, and they had dolls that represented their different deities and stuff like that. But it'd be more common, they had a soul doll representing themselves, and when they needed healing or protection or something, they would do the thing to this doll. You flip that around a little while, give some other people input on it, and now you've got a voodoo doll where you stick pins in it to cause harm to your enemies. And absolutely, that is a thing that's done. But there's the point again: that which can kill can cure. The same techniques done roughly the same way by different practitioners with different motivations have different results. So it's up to you. I never want to be those people that say, "Oh, all that matters is your intent," because that's bullshit. There's too many places where that doesn't apply. But in this particular realm, it does apply. What is your intent using those particular objects? Because those objects could be used for anything else. Just like your athame is used for magic, but it's a dagger. I mean, unless you got some weird tradition I never heard of, but the athame typically is a dagger. And here where I live in United States and California, a dagger is classified as a weapon. It's a felony to carry it. It's only a weapon because a dagger causes a cut that doesn't readily heal. It slices on both sides, and it causes a cut that doesn't heal well. You're definitely going to have to get stitches if you stab with a dagger. Probably, if you get stabbed with a kitchen knife, you're probably going to get stitches too. But the point is, it's classified as a weapon, and here we take it and use it in witchcraft and Wicca, and we're not using it as a weapon. We're using it to protect. We're using it to cast our circle, that kind of thing. So don't confuse your way as being the only way, and that everyone out there has to adhere to your ways. There are still other forms of witchcraft we haven't identified yet. We haven't put labels on. We haven't come up with cool little names to call them. But they're going to have their own code of conduct, their own way to be, and you can't judge them based on what you think they're doing or based on what you think their components do. Seems like I could probably rant on this particular subject for a long time, but I think I made the points that I set out to make. So, very meat, very part, very meat.